Welcome to IDology, Season 2. My name is Voytek, and here I get to pick the brains of industrial design experts. But this episode is a bit different. I sat down with my colleague Thomas Weber, who is a business development expert, and we discussed the most common design pain points of product manufacturing companies. Our conclusions are based on tens or maybe hundreds of conversations we've had with product manufacturing companies on different trade fairs in different countries, on different continents in the years 2022 and 2023. Let's dive in. Tomek, we've been discussing our sort of experience with our potential clients from different industries that we met at trade fairs, at expos, because we've been to quite a few in the last, let's say 16 months. We've been to Europe, we've been to the US, we've been to trade fairs that are about or for different industries. And there are a few common, let's call them pain points that people keep telling us about when it comes to industrial design. So we've talked about this before, but when because you've had, probably hundreds of meetings at different booths
Probably
within that period, do you have like your own sort of notion of how you group those clients that you talk with?
I would definitely put them in groups, or you can even call it a pain chart of those different pains.
How much pain are you in?
How much pain are you in, and how can I help you to solve it? Yes, like you said, we have traveled to a variety of different countries, to a variety, or at least two continents at this stage. And we've been to various types of exhibitions, not only industrial machinery, but also medical sector or engineering sector.
Yeah, additive manufacturing,
general.
steel manufacturing.
Additive manufacturing, right? So we've been to a lot of different industries, but the story is more or less the same. The companies that we speak to are usually placed into 3 to 4 different types of groups. There are companies out there that already invested in design, and whether this is a industrial machinery or a medical device or consumer electronics, there are simply devices, products out there that looks absolutely amazing.
Okay.
Right. And those are companies that don't necessarily require our support, but it is still very interesting to speak to them.
Are these usually big companies?
Not always.
Okay.
But most of times, companies that have a large presence, large corporation that have been on the market for years or tens of years.
Okay, so usually big companies, but not always.
Exactly, not always. Actually, surprisingly, if it's a relatively young company, such as startup that is being run by a young individual or individuals, those people know the power of brand image.
Okay.
Those people know that if you're trying to enter a specific market segment, whether medical, consumer electronics, whatever it may be, and if you're selling a similar type of product with a similar technology,
similar to the competition.
Exactly, similar to a competition, then your best chance of entering that market, or one of the best chances or one of the best ways to maximize your chances, is simply to have a better looking design than your competition.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So
that's one group, those that invest heavily in design.
Exactly. And the next group, which is a complete contrast to that, is a company that don't invest.
No design.
No design. They just say no to design.
Zero waste, zero design.
Zero waste, exactly. And those are the companies that they they don't only invest in design, they don't see any benefits that come from working with companies such as ours, right?
Okay.
They
So they don't see benefit in design in general.
That's the thing. They see the benefit because an exhibition. Let me go back. An exhibition is a unique place. It is like a newsfeed on your mobile phone, but it is a newsfeed that delivers the latest innovation, latest information about the current market, latest innovation in technology, latest innovation in design, so on and so forth. And companies that don't invest in design, they or don't invest also in their brand image, because design is basically a brand image, investment
Yeah,
in the brand
definitely.
image.
Yeah.
So companies that don't really invest in the brand image, they do attend exhibitions and they do see with their own eyes what's happening within the market. So they see the benefit, but they decide not to pursue it. They don't decide to go into that direction,
Well,
basically.
you've mentioned brand image. I remember a couple cases where companies were sort of in the middle of a process or something like that, or maybe made for me weird decisions where they had quite good product design. You could see that they invested in designing the outer chassis of their product, or let's say an industrial machine. So it was a big machine, and that looked very modern. Looked like it's at least approachable or easy to use, but they had the ugliest brand logo sticker on in the middle of the device. So they sort of took care of the device's looks, the design, the branding, but sort of forgot about their their company.
Yeah.
So this is something that can also, ruin the effect. You spend a lot of time and money on designing a great machine, and then you slap this ugly logo on it.
Exactly. Maybe the marketing team managed to convince the CEO of changing the looks of the machine, but they didn't manage to convince him to change the logo.
Yeah.
This might also be the
They had
case.
the difficult decision of choosing either this or that. You
Exactly.
decide.
You decide. And really, a new design of, for example, if you're a company that never invested in design at all, and never really invested in company's brand image, and like you said, it might be a logo, it might be a website, it might be just like maybe a color palette of your company,
Yeah,
right? Uh,
that's so important.
which is so important, right? Because sometimes you can have even a standard looking enclosure for a specific product, right? Like an enclosure that you can just buy, let's say, from Asia, and
Yeah,
probably half of the companies on the market use the same enclosure.
yeah.
But just by
Change.
developing awareness of your brand around the color choices, it can distinguish your product from the competition.
Recently, I've been to this a show for agricultural machines.
Mm-hmm.
It was huge. I was visiting one of our clients,
Mm-hmm.
and as I was walking through the lanes of farming machines, tractors, and I'm unable to name them at all, but they were huge and they were
Mm-hmm.
impressive. So skipping the design part, the color part was interesting because
Mm-hmm.
most of the machines were either green
Mm-hmm.
or red.
Interesting.
Very few were blue. Very few were blue. And there was literally one that was white.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was interesting because it was difficult to spot our client because I was looking instinctively for that color
Mm-hmm.
that I thought was in some way unique to them, but it wasn't. It turned out that at least a third of the whole exhibition
Mm-hmm.
was their color. But the most interesting thing that happened was I stopped for a burger or something, and there was this family, I assume a family of farmers, going by some tractors,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't the stand of a manufacturer, rather a distributor or something like that, because they had a few different brands on their stand. And the father stopped at the white one. It was actually silver, sort of color tractor. He merely stopped by it. He wasn't like interested specifically in anything. And the whole family grabbed him and said, "Not white. We need." I don't remember if they said black or green, but not white. We need green. Let's say.
Interesting.
So they didn't even let the father, get into the specifics of the brand or the product
Interesting.
because it was so much different than the rest of the industry, or maybe simply white isn't, the color for the industry. I don't know, but I was shocked because those machines are incredibly expensive and they're incredibly important for a family business. And picking by color doesn't seem like the reasonable way to go, right?
Definitely
But
not.
still, like you said, we buy with our eyes and with our emotions, no matter what we are buying, right?
Yeah.
So still, even the colors are important, like you said. Just this small digression.
Yeah, exactly. And relating to the agriculture industry, if you look at this industry, actually there's maybe three, four different companies, each with a different color, and of the different color of their machines, and they basically own this color. Like John Deere owns
Yeah.
green with a little bit
A
of yellow,
specific shade of green
a specific shade of green
with yellow.
right?
Yeah, but then there's
Exactly.
a ton of other green companies
Yeah.
that also include yellow, but maybe not just yellow, maybe also a little bit of red.
Interesting.
But as you go through the rows, and you can't focus yourself on color because everything is so similar.
Yes.
But there are companies that differentiate themselves on top of that.
Yeah.
Like John Deere, like Class.
Yeah.
There are companies that you look at their design and you can immediately say, "This is this company."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was saying, how important it is to invest in your brand image, and this can be done either through a website or through a colors
or product design.
Exactly. Product design is probably a design change or a brand design change that would bring the biggest amount of benefit to your product, right? Because at the end of the day, you're not only changing color, you're not changing a website, you're changing the look of your entire product, of something that your customers will interact with on daily basis.
Because design is not just the looks, it's the mechanics, the user experience.
Exactly. You don't really want to make a new design that decreases the functionality of the product.
No, that's not good design.
Exactly. You want to, with a new design, you want to increase the functionality, you want to improve the product, you want to maybe improve its transportation, you want to decrease the amount of material that is being used, you want to make it cheaper during manufacturing, right? Despite being better looking, right? So you can do a lot of different things with design. So
but we digressed. So we had the first group of customers that was 100% in. They had their own design team or person or persons, and there was the second group which didn't want to have anything with design, which sounds kind of weird. But like you say, you've met literally companies that weren't interested in it. It seems easy to talk with such a company and to sort of show them like, hey, look, design actually makes sense for business. Here's proof, like this company, this company, this company. How do you talk with clients who seem not interested in investing in design?
Yeah, it's really for us, and I think for most of companies out there, investing in design is really a common sense. It's a way of going forward and not standing still, right? If you're standing still, whether this is design or technology wise or anything else, you're basically falling behind. And most of companies, thankfully, they're aware of this aspect, and conversation with them is easier, not easy, but easier. Whereas a company that is basically a bit of ignorant towards that aspect, it is a more challenging conversation to have. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I was at the exhibition called Formnext in Germany, which is one of the biggest exhibitions dedicated to
that's additive manufacturing.
That's right,
right?
Additive manufacturing. And I'll never forget this conversation because there were A lot of companies out there that specialized in post-processing, right? But there was two companies out there that literally had booths right beside each other. One booth that I've kind of over the years seen expand quite significantly had a truly amazing design of their post-processing
So
machines.
you actually knew this company from before?
That's right. The first company. I knew this company before, and I saw how their product range have been increasing over the years and how much they've been investing in design. And actually, from what I've noticed, this was one of the very first companies within post processing world that actually started investing in design, right? And from the very first exhibition that that I saw that company, they had just a standard, 4x4 booth, nothing really special. The last time I saw them, they had the center stage of the exhibition hall. That you could approach from any angle. It just shows you this is a big player, and their booth was absolutely filled with people, wanted to find out more about their machines and so on and so forth. And right next to them, there was also a German company that also offered post-processing systems. I'd say from the technology aspect, it was precisely the same as the competition, right?
Okay.
But first of all, they didn't really have much variation in terms of different machines, but they didn't invest in design at all, and
Okay.
there wasn't really much. Well, to be honest, there was nobody at their booth, so that's the reason why I decided to approach them first and just simply have a chat and see if I'd be able to have a conversation about the design of their machine, of their systems. But also, my plan was if I'm going to come across any trouble, then I have brilliant example just
Yeah.
next to me that I
Yeah.
could just point them to, like, here, hey, somebody else is doing it. And unfortunately, I had to use that card because the person I was speaking to wasn't convinced at all, and he kind of really stopped me halfway mid sentence, and said, "Sorry, but we don't really see any benefits in the design." And I literally showed them with my hand gesture that there's a competition out there. It is from Germany. It does exactly the same thing, but they are investing in design, and you can see.
Obviously, what you just said, it's not just about the product design, the difference.
Exactly. It is not. It is not like a company's management, or a marketing manager is against the design. If introducing a new design to a specific machine or a medical device would have been easy, a lot of companies
We'll
would
do
have
it. Yeah.
would have done it already, right? A product development, it is or can be a long process. It can be an expensive process, but there's a reason why companies invest in the design, right? Why it is so important across variety of different industries, and not only consumer electronics and medical, where we look at products that have a good design, we don't even think twice about them. It's just a standard,
Yeah.
basically, in certain industries. But if you take into consideration industries such as industrial machinery or industrial lasers, right, for instance, those machines will never see a daylight in their lifetime. They will be stuck somewhere or placed somewhere in the manufacturing hall, and there's really no need for them to have a cutting edge design. There's really no need for them to look like something out of a interstellar or a sci-fi movie, right? But they still do. People and companies still invest in that design simply because it sells better, right? And like I mentioned, just going back to the brand image, it improves the brand image. It attracts the attention of the customer, and also it improves the functionality of the device if it's designed and developed correctly. But like you said, or you point out, it is not only a design a design is not only a reason why companies don't invest in it. They don't invest in it because it's expensive, because it's long, and also relating to that, another type of companies that I'm coming across at exhibitions are companies that already tried working with other industrial design studios,
Yeah.
but failed in some respect.
Okay. So like, yeah, I even can recall a few examples of companies that work either with a studio or with a single designer, and the effect wasn't what they expected, or even wasn't something that they could even use. And still, it cost money, and still, it took time.
Exactly.
And then they're like, design doesn't make sense because it simply doesn't work.
Exactly, and I'll give you a good example. We have a customer, which is also within an industrial laser market segment, large machines that
Yeah.
really have no right to have a pre-design, but they do. But basically, that company went to a local university and asked them to come up with a variety of different concepts for their next generation of laser system. And naturally, students they have some, there was some amazing creativity.
Yeah.
There's
So great. They got some great designs.
some great design out there, right? But this design wasn't manufacturing friendly. It wasn't mechanically friendly,
Okay.
right?
So like the college students just designed good looking designs, but not necessarily practical ones.
Exactly. Good looking, but not necessarily practical designs. And I know firsthand that they've spent a lot of time working on a design that they felt from those designs that were produced. A one design that was selected, they worked quite along developing this design into a mechanical design, and ultimately, what was left at the end didn't really sorry
Match to their expectations, sort of.
yeah, didn't really match to their expectations, didn't really match to their original concept, right? Which kind of lost its purpose here. So that's really one example how you can have good intentions, but the final results might not be what you were looking for.
Yeah, but that's like
Hmm.
saying that. I mean, I understand it because it's a costly lesson
Hmm.
to take, but it's like buying a bad apple at the grocery store and saying that all apples don't make sense because I
Hmm.
once bought an apple and it tasted like shit. That doesn't make sense simply.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, when you're not a huge company and you can't
Hmm.
afford to spend time and money on a process that you sort of feel like you don't have a guaranteed result at the end, like it
Hmm.
might turn out to be an expensive experiment, that's simply something you can't afford. So I understand
Exactly.
that those companies need to have a guarantee, sort of, that at the end of the design process, not only will they have a design that's, like you said, not only attractive but also manufacturable
Hmm.
in an easy sort of way, uh, that the manufacturing cost will not rise, preferably will go down.
Hmm.
I don't know, assembly is easier, or the interaction with the user is easier.
That's right.
They need to know that this will be the effect, right?
That's right. That's right. They want to gain all the benefits that come from that.
That's what they're paying for
That's what they're paying
for
for.
improving their product.
Exactly. And surprisingly, the example that I give, it is a relatively large company, one of the market leader in laser segment or industrial laser systems in Europe. And this process obviously didn't cost them any money, right? Because it was probably some type of a competition that was made internally within the university. But like you said, they wasted a lot of
Time.
time
Yeah.
during this process. And for a large corporation, right, really the cost of development of the design it's not really taken that much into account versus how much it will take them
just
to
the
make
time.
it.
Yeah.
The time it is crucial
And
aspect here.
time is money, because like you said, each year
Exactly.
at all those exhibitions, companies try to outdo themselves to be better than the competition. And if you're a year too late with a new design, that
Exactly. And the inflation is higher every year, so you wanna
yeah. And
cut down
but
the
that
production
story that
time.
you gave, uh, it seems incredibly irresponsible on the side of the university that was providing, those designs,
Yeah,
because if it was a competition made in cooperation with the university, then there should have been some sort of judges or professors, industrial design experts leading the competition.
exactly.
Something went really wrong there. That's not something that happens really often, but it's a good example of how when you try to skip an important part of the
Hmm.
process, uh, it's you're gonna get burned.
Yeah, you're gonna
Like you
get
said,
burned.
it costs money, it takes time to uh, get to certain results.
Exactly. And really, companies, I believe, that would like to introduce let's say, a new product or a redesign of an existing product, whether a machine or a medical device or whatever it is, they don't really know how to approach this problem. And I think that is the reason why that specific company decided that asking university students to develop some designs might be a good idea here, right? But there are also companies out there that feel that they can do the product internally.
Let's not criticize the situation entirely, because
Hmm.
probably there were quite a few details that we are not aware of. But okay,
Hmm.
so we have three groups. One group heavily into design.
Hmm.
Second group, design, no thank you. Third group, design, yes please, but I don't want to waste the time or the money, so I will
Yeah.
skip a few steps and try to do it, quicker, cheaper, or whatever,
Hmm.
and they get burned. And then
Exactly.
they believe that either the process doesn't make sense or the end product doesn't make
Hmm.
sense. And how many other groups do you have?
There's one more. There's one more group after that, but I would just like to add something to that third group. That the companies that get born during this process, they don't really know the best way of starting this process, of starting a new product with enhanced aesthetics, or starting a process of redesigning an existing product. And the example that I give here about a university students that were given a task to design a new machine, a new system, it was a unique example and only one of such type that I've heard in my time of working at Mind Sailors and just speaking to people at exhibitions, right? Usually, companies they had already an opportunity to work with companies such as ours. However, there's not a lot of industrial design consultancies that actually have experience working with industrial machinery, right? This is a very specific industry. And even though most of the time an industrial design studio in this process would only be responsible for the design aspect, later on, whenever the process is going to reach a mechanical design stages, whatever was created is being passed to the mechanical design team. But this transition is the most difficult aspect here, right? Because just like university students, whenever they were trying to pass the designs to engineering team, they
Mhm.
have discovered that they cannot do anything with that design. And true, probably working with most of industrial design studios out there, they don't. The engineering team on the side of the client, they don't really have that problem, or not to that extent. But for an industrial design studio that don't have experience in working with large industrial machinery, or a industrial design studio that don't have an internal mechanical engineer or don't have experience in manufacturing technologies that could be suitable for that specific product and those specific needs for a customer. And even though this is just a concept and it has no right to be mechanically correct, it has no right to be optimized, if it lacks those crucial key components, the transition is going to be very difficult. And during this transition is where the bad taste in the mouth stays when it comes to the partnership, right? Because those companies suddenly receive a design that they cannot really do anything with it, and unfortunately, that's the stories that I hear from companies that I speak to.
So it's like if I understand correctly, what you're saying is when those companies work with outside designers, whether it's a studio or a freelancer or a freelancer, a small group of freelancers, it's crucial not to pay the most attention to the conceptual part because
Exactly.
maybe it is the most attractive, but it's the sort of it's not going to be the right way to put it, but the least important business wise, because even the you might get a great concept, but so what if you won't be able to manufacture it, or it will be incredibly expensive to manufacture it. So probably it's best to make sure that the company that you're working for, the person that you're working for, is not just a good concept artist, which is something that it's not an industrial designer, that you work with several experts who have their own fields of expertise. Because if you work like with a freelancer, a single person is unable to cover the whole process from
Exactly.
conceptual art to manufacturing, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've mentioned there's one more group.
There's one more group, and the last group of companies that I come across during exhibitions are companies that they're pretty aware of the benefits of the design of the brand image, and they've decided to not to work with an external design studio or an external university or a group of freelancers, but they decided to actually try
Work with their own engineers.
work with their own engineers.
Yeah, I knew this was
That's
coming.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I love those examples because, from my perspective, like engineers are the sort of designers that need to optimize everything for the biggest efficiency.
Yeah,
So if they design how a machine works, what components it uses, everything needs to be extremely optimized.
exactly.
And they are very competent in designing those machines. So they have the technical skills, basically, to also do the housing for the machine, because why not? But then you can easily see immediately that the machine exterior was designed by an engineer that designed the machine itself, because it is as simple and as optimized and as bare bones as possible, and it usually doesn't work as a good attention grabbing design. So I think I know exactly. I could name a few companies from the group you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you have basically described everything what I was going to say for me, but that's basically what it is. It is a internal engineering team. It is a backbone of every company that is producing a physical product out there, and those machines are extremely practical, right?
Yeah.
They
Well, every machine inside needs to be.
Exactly. But this one is not only internally but also externally practical, right? And also cost effective sometimes, not always in its own respect. So, a job of an engineer, it is not to design a pretty product. It is to design what is the most important within a company, and that is a functional and reliable product, and also cost effective to an extent as well.
I remember talking to companies that would fit in that group that you that fourth group of yours, which also one of the reasons why they decided to work on the outer shell of their machine with their own engineers was sort of this lack of trust with giving their, like you described, their baby, their machine, to someone else to dress it. Let's put it like that.
Yes.
Because I've often heard that, and it's clearly visible once you start getting into conversation with such companies, that the engineer that is at the table is very confrontational. He feels like you're not skilled or equipped enough to deal with his creation.
Exactly.
So that's an interesting group.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine being that engineer, right? You're sitting at your desk in your office, have a nice warm cup of tea or coffee, and suddenly you hear a knock on your door and you see a managing director, a CEO saying, listen, there's this company that I've met at exhibition. They make really cool industrial designs of machines. Get in touch with them and see if you can work something together, right? So automatically being in that engineer's shoes, he's probably not too happy about going seeking help from an external party, right? And very often, and I think almost all of our customers that we had at our company, they were always asking how this partnership looks like. So they weren't only asking about just the product development process or what are they going to achieve at the end or what are the benefits in our design, but they were also asking how basically the partnership looks like.
How will your team work with my team?
Exactly. How are we going to work together? How are we going to take what is the best from your team and what is the best in my
Yeah.
team, and we're going to put this together at a specific phase in the project.
I think a good summary for this conversation would be the anecdote that
I think so.
Nikolai used to tell, or still tells, probably will tell to the end of the days, basically.
I think so.
It was Nikolai is a friend of ours here from at the Mind Sailors. He's a senior designer, and he used to work with a company that needed to switch their manufacturing facility basically from old machines to new machines, but they weren't able to have any holds on incoming orders.
Yeah.
So while the old manufacturing let's say park was working, the old machines were manufacturing, they built a new hangar beside it and started equipping it with new machines.
Yeah.
So at one point they had both those halls running. One was the old building with the old machines. One was I'm not sure if it was a new building, but it had new machines in it.
Yeah.
And so they consciously didn't shut down the old hall as soon as they were able to, because they decided that since we have this unique opportunity, let's see if this move even made sense. So when they were getting new incoming deals or prospects were coming in to talk about possible giving them an order, they would go with some leads to some clients to the old facility and say, oh, this is our manufacturing grounds, here we do this, here we do that, etc., etc. Let's call prices. And with other clients, they did the same, but went to the new facility and said, these are our machines. Here we do this, here we do that. Now let's go to the office and talk prices. And they were able to get 30 to 40% more margin.
Amazing.
Just by showing the new facility and delivering more or less the same quality product. It wasn't like a leap with the new machines on, I don't know, precision or something like that.
Yeah.
And that, if I didn't hear it from Mikołaj from firsthand, basically, I probably wouldn't believe it so easily because it sounds crazy.
Absolutely.
Not just the margin bump, because that's amazing also, but the fact that someone actually had the opportunity to have this testing ground
Yeah.
of having two identical but entirely different facilities running just to run tests on clients,
Amazing.
That's incredible sales insights for that company. But yeah, this example shows what design can do, because design can also screw up your business, definitely, if you work with the wrong people, with the wrong companies,
Hmm.
or you don't, not having experience, you don't find a partner that will guide you through the process, so
Hmm.
you're sort of going in blind.
That's right.
You can get burned, and it's understandable if you got or burned or will get burned. It will burn for some time, so you will not be eager to
Hmm.
go back to that
Hmm.
experience again. But like you said, being a year late at an exhibition show next to a competition might mean being in the business or
Exactly.
not.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And our job is basically to provide you with those oven gloves that you won't get
not to
burned,
not to get burned.
not to get burned, and to walk you through this development process as easily, as comfortably, as quickly as this is possible.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for the talk.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
really appreciate for having me. Thank you.
For more discussions on industrial design and product development, check out the other episodes of IDology, the industrial design podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and basically all podcast streaming services.